Welcome back to the world of music, Noel Gallagher.
Oh,
And
thank you very much.
you are on top of the world with this record.
Well, I like to think so.
It's amazing. But, of course, you can't take full credit for it. Come on. David Holmes pushed you on this.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I'd say, out of all the influences that are on the record, his is the biggest, you know. But have a look in the brackets, boys and girls. I did write all the songs. But he was absolutely directing it from day one. Yeah.
Because it must be frustrating and invigorating to turn up at the studio with all these demos and the producer you've chosen to work with goes, nah, we don't need to be doing any of that. Let's just start from scratch.
Well, yeah, it's not something that if I'd have come up with the idea, it would never have worked. But because it was just thrown at me, and every day in the studio was different. I'd go home some nights, and my missus would say, "What have you done today?" And I'd be like, "I have no idea. I don't know what." And we could have recorded 2 songs, or we could have just been noodling all day. And then you go in the next day, and it'd be something completely different again. So it was a real voyage of discovery.
How did you and him decide to work together? It was by chance.
Yeah, I on my first solo tour, I was doing a festival, and me and Primal Scream were on the same bill, and he was working with Primal Scream at the time. And we were in the dressing room, and he introduced himself. And I'd got all his records. I mean, I love what he does. And we were chatting. You know, I was going, "Oh no way, man! I love this record and this tune and blah 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 and all that." And then when it came to making Chasing Yesterday, I'd done what I thought were the demos, and I'd done what I always do. I was kind of thinking, producer, it would be good to help me produce this record. So I called David, and he came to London, and like you say, he played him the demos, and he said, "Nah, they're already finished." And he said, "You should go and finish that record, but if you want to work with me, we'll make another one." And I said, "Well, do you want to hear the side? I've got loads of songs." And he said, No. Just come to my studio in Belfast. Just bring one guitar and a bag of effects pedals, and we'll just take it from there." And most of the songs were born out of conversations and kind of like, you know, he would play me the night before the first session started. We sat in his studio, and he's an incredible DJ. And he's got this incredible record collection.
Huge.
And we just played records, and he was saying, "Do you like this?" And it'd be like avant-garde electronic jazz from the 50s. And I like, "Oh yeah, that's cool, man." And he'd say, "Right, okay, so we should do something like that." And he would, you know, he stacked up all this music, and then we just went at it. And it was, you know, it's my favorite ever time in the studio, I think, because you didn't know what you were going to get at the end of it. You know, you listen to "It's a Beautiful World," the song with the French bit on it.
Yeah.
And honestly, that song just developed over 2 years. You know, it started off as a tiny little riff, and then it got bigger and bigger, and then the French bit and all that. And it was like, wow, I didn't even know I was writing a song until it was finished, you know.
Were you kind of maybe subconsciously yearning to be taken out of your comfort zone, do you think?
Well, I don't like that term for starters, because it's one of those modern
synergy and blue sky thinking and those kind of
terms
things,
that I could, if it was a thing, I would strangle it. The comfort zone thing. But I suppose when I met Dave, I love the sound that he gets on his records is contemporary, but it's with a nod to the past kind of thing. And I didn't know how he worked. I had no idea. I had no idea what it was going to be. If I'd have known that it was going to be no songs, make it up on the day. What have you got? Come on, blow me away. I'd have been like, not sure about that. But because it was just happening, you know, it's like you kind of go with it. And I got to say, it took the best part of 4 years to make this record. And I'd say for the first 2 years, it wasn't really going anywhere, because they were just like snippets of music, and I hadn't written anything. I hadn't turned them into songs, and I was a bit like, I'm not sure whether this is even going to be an album, which is why we didn't announce it until it was virtually finished, you know, that I was working with him. Because I thought, with the amorphous androgynous thing, we'd announced that, and then it didn't come out, and it was a bit of a scene. And so for the first couple of years with this, I was like, I don't really know what I'm doing here, you know. And then all of a sudden, finished Holy Mountain, and then they all just, you know, fell over one after another.
At that 2 year period, when you're not sure what's going to happen, what kept the trust going?
Well, like I say, I was making Chasing Yesterday at the same time. So I'd work 2 weeks in London on that. Then I'd go to Belfast for 2 weeks. So I was making them both at the same time. If I hadn't have had the anchor of Chasing Yesterday, thinking, well, this record's going to come out first. I'm going on tour. You know, whatever happens with Who Built the Moon is whatever happens. That anchored me in the real world, and then it kind of just gave me the enthusiasm to do this other thing, you know. And it's the most frustrating thing was after 2 years, people saying, "Can you play us something?" I'm just like, there's nothing there. There's like a load of snippets of music, and but in hindsight, that was the most exciting part because I didn't really know what we were doing.
Like going back to the early days when you first started, and of course being successful, there's a lot of pressure to escape whatever environment you're in and the success and the fame that all comes with that. You don't have that pressure anymore. You haven't had for years. So then where does the pressure come from? Or is there no pressure? You're just completely relaxed. You go into the studio. What happens, happens.
Well, what I do for a living is this is my hobby, right? I don't have any other interests outside of my family and football and music. That is it. I don't own a car. I don't particularly...
What happened to that Rolls Royce that Alan McGee bought you?
I think I've still got that somewhere. It is a proper pain in the arse as well to keep that car. I've never had a driving license, so I'm not like one... I don't do like boyish things, you know what I mean? I don't play golf. I don't have a stamp collection. I don't own any pets. So I want to do this, you know what I mean? I love doing it. And I think it comes across in the music. I make music from a fan's perspective. You know, it's like when I'm in the studio, that's me. I'm happy as a pig in...
Yes. We don't need to finish that sentence. So then when you get into a studio with David and David throws the rule book out and you start working on this and there's, you know, experimental jazz records from the 1950s on pink vinyl from Belgium into your world.
Oh, you know that track?
Yeah, it's a big tune in my world. DJ'd it many times. Then what about the fans? Because you're a fan of music, but there are fans, there are legions, there are people who are obsessed with Noel Gallagher and what Noel Gallagher's music means to them.
Yeah.
And you're going to push them. You're going to take them somewhere that they may not be comfortable in going.
No, I know that. Yeah, which is why I picked Holy Mountain for the first single. I was like, well, this is gonna. It was the intention to split opinion. I have to say, I think it's funny at the minute. Everyone who hates this album are the people who haven't heard it, because you put a little trailer up on the internet, and of course the culture in which we're in, it's like instant. I'm not having it. I'm not. As a French girl, what's that language? Oh, that'll be French. That's why you don't understand it. But people who have heard it absolutely love it, and
I can't myself.
It wasn't my. Although going into this record, it wasn't the intention to, right, let's push it as far as we can go. As the record evolved, it was kind of like, oh, this is going to be interesting. Some people are not going to like this. And which is, I think it's a good thing. It's a good place to be.
But it's not as if you haven't had an eclectic taste before. I mean, you worked with the Chemical Brothers. It's not like you were someone who gone, whoa, like you wouldn't have got angry back in the 60s when Dylan went on to an electric guitar.
Of course. And you know, I've worked with the Chems and Goldie and
now David Holmes.
I think people who will have followed what I do will not have been that surprised. But the beauty of and the brilliance of Oasis is that it keeps generating a new fan base every 5 or 6 years, and it feels like there's another generation of fans come along, and they seem to be quite young. And they have a very certain image of what Oasis music is, and they want ownership of it, and that's fine, you know. And they come to the gigs and it's great, and God bless them and all that. But it's kind of this is where we're at now, and I only see it as the other side of the same coin. But people have been quick to judge it, which is brilliant, though. I love it.
You're thick-skinned, right? I mean, it's not like someone can get to you by sending a tweet out. Do you know what I mean?
No, I don't have social. I mean, I'm not on social media. I don't have it on my devices at all. The only time ever reaches me is like when my daughter will say, "Oh my God, look at what this guy said." She'll go on about that. Or my wife will say, "God, your fans are not happy." But social media, I think, is exhausting. There's not enough hours in the day for me to do what I do most days. Far less sitting, be on social media like Gary Lineker or something. You think Gary Lineker have better things to do with his life, wouldn't you? Do you know what I mean?
You not that much older than me, so we're from a generation whereby if someone had something to say to you, they should say it to your face, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they might get sparked out.
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
It, right?
Well, we live in the era of the keyboard warrior, I believe they're called.
Yeah, they are.
And but it's just, modern culture is when you sit and think about it, it's bizarre. It's just a platform of lots of people shouting at each other.
But you're someone who's got such articulate opinions. It's almost as if, like your brother, social media was made for someone like you, because you have always been fantastic at a very pithy put down of anyone. I mean, you could have been a battle MC.
Yeah. Yeah. But like I say, I like doing what I do, and I like doing the interviews and all that comes with it. But really, within that framework, I don't really want anybody to know anything about me. And what I think Twitter does and social media is, eventually your core being comes to light. So what you see, there's a certain kind of person who tweets at 4 o'clock in the morning, drunk. They're kind of like, wow, what? Surely you're either out at 4 o'clock in the morning or in bed. Let's sit in tweeting about Brexit or something.
It's a bit needy.
It is a bit, yeah. It's a bit attention seeking as well, but it's not something I'm into. But then, I guess if you're 45, it's a bit sad. If you're 15, that's modern culture, right? Okay.
Yeah.
If you've kind of, if you're a man of a certain age, it's like no, you can't.
Does your wife or your kids make you aware of your brother's tweets ever?
I don't. The only time I'm aware of them, and it's like if I go on, it seems to be enemy.com drive all this. If I'm going on there to see what's going on in if Jungle are eventually going to put an album out, they'll be like, our kid's mug there, and you think, oh, and then there'll just be this barrage, and you're just reading it going, oh my God, that's insane. It's like real personal stuff, you know what I mean? And you're like slagging somebody off for their music is one thing. I was the best at it. I reinvented it. But like personal stuff, you're just like, no way. And then my daughter will say, he tweeted this at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's just like 6 o'clock in the morning. Holy moly. But there you go. If you've got nothing better to do, I guess he's not busy writing his own tunes, is he? Got a lot of time on his hands.
Would you ever move back to Manchester?
I did think of it, actually, before we started to have... before me and Sarah started to have the kids. Yeah, I thought of it, but then I thought of moving to America at one point.
Oh, you would have hated LA. You would have hated.
No, I wouldn't have gone to
San
LA.
Francisco.
No, New York. We thought very, very seriously, and actually got all the paperwork together to transfer everything to America, and then Sarah got pregnant. We still haven't found out how that actually happened, but she got pregnant, and she was like, "Well,
there are some YouTube videos, not of Sarah, obviously, but you.
We can't have.
But there are.
We were just like, we cannot have children with American accents. That's not going to work.
I'm married to American, but the kids were born here, so
right. Okay. Well, there you go.
It's all good. Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah.
After the MEN Arena attack, as someone who is a son of Manchester and a very famous son of Manchester, do you remember how you felt about that?
Really, really. I'd gone to bed early that night, so I didn't. When I woke up and switched my phone on, and the first text was somebody who lives in the States saying, "I hope all your family are safe." And I was thinking, and then your phone explodes, and next thing the radio goes on, and then you kind of sat watching the news, and you're thinking, I can't believe it. I've played that arena so many times. I've been there. I walked those streets. And then as the story unfolds, you're getting, like all of us, even things on, London Bridge and all that, you just get angry when you think our leaders are seemingly powerless to stop this, And the thing that really, really winds me up more than anything is like these people who, they have the right to be radicalised in this country. They have rights. That kid who set that bomb off in Manchester had the right. You know what I mean? You cannot stop this. And that's what annoys me. And I remember the day after the Manchester things, I was on a national radio station the next day. And, of course, that was the first question. They actually wouldn't air the interview because they said, you can't say this on national radio. And I was like, they go on about the Manchester bombing and they don't even call it an act of terrorism now. They say, the tragedy in Manchester. Hang on a minute. Let's call it what it is. It's terrorism. You know what I mean?
Mass murder.
Yeah, it's mass murder.
Yeah.
And now they call it, it's almost like an incident. And it's like, well, no. It's like that guy who set that bomb off sees the streets of Britain as a battlefield, right? And our leaders don't see it as a battlefield.
How does that make you feel, being in one of the cities that could be been targeted? And
if you stopped to think about it deeply, my daughter's on the tube, probably now, going somewhere, and I was with her last night at a party, and if the radio's on in the background and you hear that we have breaking news, you just think, "Was the last night I'm ever going to see her?" Because she's on, it's so random. You know what I mean? It's so random. What if she was at the market that night when those guys arrived? Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like...
What about the division that it creates? No, because you were brought up in a city where lots of different races and religions got on together. And you live in one where lots of different races and religions, people from different backgrounds. You're in an industry where you're meeting people, you tour the world.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that division? Do you think we are becoming more divided?
I think that people's views have become so extreme. There's like, even the landscape in England now, it's like the views on society are either extremely right-wing or extremely left-wing. And in the 90s, with the New Labour and all that, they danced in the middle and everybody was happy, I think. And, but I think, and this is the magic of when that girl started singing Don't Look Back in Anger in St. Anne's Square, how people rallied round that song in the days after the terrorist attack in Manchester, was so beautiful. It's like the politicians' words meant nothing. The Queen's words mean nothing. You can say all you want. That girl decided to bring everybody together by singing that song. And people rallied round that song, and it was like, wow. It made me feel... I had very, very mixed emotions about it, because I felt so proud that I was connected to it in somehow, and then so sad that it was happening at all. You know what I mean?
Because there was also, of course, a huge increase in attacks on the Muslim community in Manchester after that.
Yeah, but, it's like we were talking just then about social media. There are a lot of ill-informed people. It was like with the Brexit thing, when that was happening, you've seen the debates, and each side lying to their own supporters, and we live in a society where people are just ill-informed,
Now, one thing you're not ill-informed about is Manchester City.
Oh, no.
Mate.
I know.
You are...
Art.
You are... I mean, it pains me to say it as a Spurs fan, but, I mean, who's gonna do you guys over? You are on fire.
I think...
You should move back to Manchester just to buy a house next to Pep Guardiola and then just over the garden fence just scream, I love you, Pep, every day.
I've got to say, I've kind of got to know him a little bit. And he's a proper dude. Like a proper dude. Any football fan would adore this man because of the way that he sees the game. And he's amazing.
What was the first thing you asked him when you met him? Do you remember?
I think I might have said it. Have you brought a jacket with a hood? From Manchester. And he's like, I like the rain. And I was like, yeah, they all say that, But he's a dude. And I think, again, like last season, people were very quick to write him off and say, you know, it was all about Messi and it was all about Bayern Munich. And it's taken him a year to get his feet under the table. And we must stress he's won nothing yet. But I've been to see City about 6 or 7 times this season and been kind of going, oh my God, some of the best things you've ever seen on the football field. Ever, you know. And as we were talking off air before, it's United and Tottenham have to do the double over us now to stand any chance, because it looks like we're just not going to lose many games, you know. And to be better than Tottenham, I mean, you've got to be good, because they're on fire as well.
Well, we're both shared a similar history in that we've spent a large amount of our life in the shadow of another team. The other lot, and a red lot.
Yeah.
Both of us have had to deal with that.
It's kind of, it's beautiful poetry at the minute, because we were talking about Arsenal fan TV. I'm not an Arsenal fan, but when the results come in on a Saturday and Arsenal have been beaten or drawn or whatsoever, they just think, oh, I'm just going to go make a cup of tea. I'm going to give it an hour, and then I'm going to go. And those guys, like, I feel for DT and Troops. Those guys, I feel for them, man, because they're in it deep. And but I have to sit there and laugh because it's so funny, fan blood. You know what I'm saying? And what was saying, Robbie? I've had enough, Robbie. I can't take it no more, Robbie. My Tottenham mates are laughing at me, Robbie. It's just like, oh my God. It's essential viewing. It's essential viewing.
But we're in these unusual times. Like my son's 10 this week, and all he really knows is Pochettino.
Right? Yeah.
And it's
my lads, I remember the day my eldest was born. He's 10.
Right, it's the same.
You know,
right.
And my 7-year-old, I've said to him, do you realise how lucky you are? You were born the year after the Sheikh took over. All he's known is, you know, he's like, we're playing Arsenal today. His attitude is, we'll murder Arsenal. And I'm like, me, I'll take a draw now. And he's like, Arsenal? I was like, wow. This new generation of football fans, it's like, wow. Amazing, though.
It's a golden age. I mean, look, you've got the album, you've got Man City. Just so that everyone's not jealous of you, what is currently just absolutely rubbish in your life?
I must say, I didn't get in until about 6 o'clock this morning, and I've got a filthy hangover, which, as I'm saying these words now, is getting worse and worse. And my driver said to me on the way here, he was out with me last night, he said, how are you feeling this morning? And I was like, I feel pretty fragile. And he said, is your arse hurting? And I was like, hang on a minute. And he said, do you remember falling over outside the pub last night? And I was like, no way.
You fell over?
I fell over. But I don't remember.
When was the last time you fell over while drunk?
I don't take a tumble when I'm drunk. I'm quite stable on my feet. I don't do the Bambi thing. But apparently last night I took a bit of a tumble outside the Cow in Notting Hill. So if anybody's got any footage of that, please be kind. You know, I'm 50 now. Don't put it on the internet.
How did you approach the Big 5-0?
I loved it. I love it. I think
your life's getting better.
Yeah, my 40s were incredible. When we celebrated my 50th, I was saying to Sarah, it's like we're celebrating my 40s, really, which are actually, when push comes to shove, probably on a personal level, my favourite decade of my life. And but I think you should celebrate all the milestones in your life. There's no point. If you're 50, you're 50, and that's it. You know, be 51 next year. If you're not going to celebrate that, so you might as well celebrate the half century.
Do you not ever get saddened at the fact that you and, may I quote, our kid did not have the kind of relationship that...
No, we never... No, because he's a filthy little narcissist, and I have no time for people like that.
That's it. I mean, that's all you have to say, really. I mean, there's nothing beyond that, is there? There's and you surround yourself with a lot of positivity. Clearly, you can hear the positivity on this album.
Well, you know, the thing about Oasis was it was all about the struggle, and the power trips within the band. And on the night that I left, I made a conscious decision. I was like, why am I in this band that's making me so unhappy? I just go and do something else. And on the night that I quit and was in Paris, I was like, okay, well, anything is better than this. If I start a solo career, which I wasn't planning on doing, and it bombs, it's got to be better than this. at least I'll have a laugh doing it, you know. And
Right. Nothing left to lose.
no, and doing what I do now is it's so fluid. I've got 3 girls in the band who are coming on tour with me, and they're not backing singers; they're actually in the band. You couldn't do that in Oasis because there'd be you'd have to have a meeting. You know, birds in the band. I don't know, mate. It's not rock and roll, is it? No one's saying it is.
Well, you've moved on from all of that. I love The Man Who Built the Moon, by the way, on the album. One of my favourite records of all time is When the Levee Breaks by Led Zeppelin.
It's got that thing on it, yeah.
And I totally hear that.
Yeah. That's my the guy that played drums on the record was my ex-drummer in the band. He has got a very John Bonham style to him, and but that's where the title of the album came from, was from that song. And I wrote that song. I would go to the studio when we moved to London from Belfast, and every day I would get the tube, and I would get off at Lambeth Station, and every day, just as you go up the lift to get to street level to get a taxi for the last part of the journey, was the poster for that Quentin Tarantino film, The Hateful Eight. And as I was doing that, was working on that song, I was thinking, what is this song gonna be about? And I decided, without seeing the film, to write a song about the people in that poster. And then when I seen the film, I thought, it should have been the theme tune. Tarantino's got to give me a call at some point.
Just like you wrote an instrumental for Kanye West you had no intention of sending to him.
Absolutely not. No way. But if he wants to put a wee rap on it, you know, be my guest, Kanye.
People, I guess, unfairly, because of the whole Glastonbury Jay-Z thing, think that you've got a thing against hip-hop and rap music, which clearly you don't.
No, I love it.
Fade, of course.
Oh, God, it blew me away.
Absolutely blew you away by Kanye. And you're massively disappointed that Stormzy is a Manchester United fan.
Oh, gosh. It was with kind of, you know, because those grime kids, right, that's where we come from. It's the same kind of thing.
Of course it is.
They have got the same spirit as Oasis, which was a punk rock attitude. And then, of course, now Wiley, right, he's a City fan. Okay?
Yeah,
so
he's a Spurs fan, but he lived in Manchester.
He lived in
for a while,
Manchester
but he's
for a bit, yeah.
Is
he
a Spurs
really?
fan.
Is he Tottenham?
He's a massive Spurs fan.
And he's
but he lost a bet and he had to wear an Arsenal tracksuit.
No way.
Yes.
So he's a dude. When I found out Stormzy was a Red, I was like, oh God. I mean, what? I mean, that's going to be a thing now, you know what I mean? I've never met him, or maybe I have met him. I've never met him, but the first thing I'll say to him is, why? Why are you a filthy Red? You subhuman scum, why?
Is that the way you address most Manchester United fans?
Pretty much.
There's a lot of them.
Pretty much.
Touring Southeast Asia, like Korea, China, would be an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
It's full of Manchester United.
Honestly, I've walked out on stage in, you know, Taiwan, and 3 guys on the front row wearing United kits, and he just, before he starts a song, he just go, "Excuse me, sir, really? You know, you want to kind of, you know, give them the greatest sense of humour, but it's like, is this a joke? Do you think that's funny?"
Where do you think you are in the music kind of industry, in the firmament of all the different music? We've talked about grime. Where do you think you are? Do you ever think about relevancy?
Wow. Now, if I hadn't got in at 6 o'clock this morning, I could probably give you a very articulate answer for that. But I'm going to say sometimes, but not, you can't let that dictate what you do. Ever since I started writing songs, I've just aggressively will not overthink anything. Do you know what I mean? It's like, let it happen. Songs fall out of the sky. This is the one album which was, the songs didn't fall out of the sky. They were made up in the studio. But my entire thing has been to just sit with the TV, with the sound down, playing the guitar, neither playing the guitar nor watching the TV, just in a trance, and then things happen. Relevancy, I don't know. You know, a 50-year-old guy from a band from the 90s, can they at all be relevant? But somebody likes it somewhere.